Hey y'all, so today we're going to finish up chapter 4 in Women Who Run with the Wolves. And remember that the lens we're looking at all this through is refining discernment after the awareness that comes from being entangled with a narcissist. And so we're hoping to sharpen our discernment and to be able to avoid any kind of snares or traps in the future going forward. So I hope that you've had a chance to watch the other videos. The way I break them down per chapter is I'll label them like A, B, and C, or D, however many there are, so that we have plenty of time to discuss everything in depth. So today we're going to finish it up, and the title of chapter 4 is The Mate, Union with the Other. And this section within chapter 4 is called Achieving Fierceness. And that's there's only 2 more sections left in chapter 4. It's that one and then the interior woman. So we're going to go through these sections, and I hope that you guys get something from it. To me, these last 2 sections of chapter 4 are the richest by far. It's a great way to summarize the complexity of the chapter, because as I went through this, there were areas where, you know, you could take a lot of what she had written in different directions, and it was hard to really know her true intent. And so I know that, you know, different people can read a book, 5 different people can read a book and come out with 5 different interpretations, because we all see through a different lens, you know. So, but like I said, the lens we're looking at this through is related to narcissism. So let's dive in. All right, so Achieving Fierceness, and I am going to be reading a lot of this because I really can't skip over any of this. I was reading through, and it's just, it would really be an injustice to not give you every last drop here, I think. So, the little dog learns the names of the women one more time and races back to his master. He ignores the feast on the road and the enticing smells from the bush. Remember, he used to get distracted really easily, but this time he's learned his lesson. He's ignoring all these snares and entrapments that can get you off the path, off of your intended alignment, you know, with that inner guiding light, right? So he's ignoring all these feasts and the enticing smells. It says, here we see the consciousness of the psyche rising. So remember that everything in this story is related to internal processes within your psyche. So there's like this barrier as you're trying to push through levels of consciousness. And so that's really what all this is about. But then she also admits that it can be externalized in the world too, with regard to connections with other people. So she says, here we see the consciousness of the psyche rising. The instinctive psyche has learned to curb itself, prioritize, and focus. It refuses to be diverted. It is now intent. So I love this. It's almost like the little dog, representative of our intuition, is it becomes strengthened through the pitfalls, through the lessons, because every time we make a mistake, it is a lesson. It should be a lesson, you know, ideally, so that we don't make those same mistakes again. So here she's basically saying, it's learned, it has grown, it refuses to be diverted, it is now intent. So it just makes that connection stronger. You know, it's kind of like when you can look back in hindsight and you say, I knew it. You know, like I had this bad feeling about the situation or this connection, but you maybe ignored it, and you ignored red flags, and then, you know, sure enough, bad things go down. You realize it was a mistake to go down that path, and then in hindsight, you can go back and you can say, yeah, deep down, I really knew. And so that's the point, is that it strengthens our connection to our intuition. That's the silver lining from these experiences. So, these very unfortunate experiences. It says, but from nowhere, a dark thing suddenly jumps out at the little dog. The black stranger shakes the dog and shouts, "Tell me those names. What are the names of the young women so I may win them?" The black stranger does not care for duality or the finer points of the psyche. To him, the feminine is a possession to be won and nothing more. Sounds very narcissistic to me. The black stranger can be personified by a real person in the outer world or a negative complex within. It does not matter which, for the devastating effect is the same. This time, the dog engages in unrestrained battle. So this last distraction really wasn't a distraction, like the pie, the nutmeg that he was distracted with, and the bone on the road, the first couple of distractions. This was the stranger literally jumps him on the path. So it's kind of like once the darkness realized that he couldn't be won over through distractions, then it was a full-on battle. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's how it feels like in our life. So it says, this time the dog engages in unrestrained battle. So he has this like fervent resolve. So it says, whether male or female, this occurs in outer life when an incident, a slip of words, an odd thing of some sort, jumps out and tries to make us forget who we are. There is always something in the psyche that tries to rob us of the names. There are many name robbers in the outer world also. So this is rich to me right here. So let me go ahead and start with this last line here. There are many name robbers in the outer world also. That would be narcissists who try to literally study you to the point that they can become you. You know what I mean? They break you down, and yet you literally watch them transform this mask that they construct from studying you, and before you know it, they're like, it's like a stolen identity almost. It's really bizarre. So I think that's very much related to that. And then backing up a little bit more, where it says, whether male or female, this occurs in outer life when an incident, a slip of words, an odd thing of some sort, jumps out and tries to make us forget who we are. There is always something in the psyche that tries to rob us of the names. And to me, if you view this from the lens of a spiritual battle, it's like attempts from the darkness to make us forget the fact that the duality in a spiritual person means you're in the world but not of it, and it's the attempts are to make you forget that you are a spiritual being and that you are part of the divine. You are a spark from that divine fire. And I think that's the point, is to make you forget that and to make you just live, you know, in the human sense only, feeding the pleasures of the flesh, getting entangled in all that, living materialistically, forgetting your true nature, which is spiritual, your soul. And so it's like getting you to self-sabotage. And yet I think it is closely entwined. Is it entwined? I don't know, this word's coming to me. Interlaced. It's closely tied together with layers of consciousness as well. You see what I'm saying? So we'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute. It says, in the story, the little dog fights for its life. Sometimes the only way we learn to hold on to our deeper knowing is because a stranger jumps out. Then we are forced to fight for what we find dear. Fight to be serious about what we are about. Fight to get past our superficial spiritual motives, which Robert Bly calls the desire to feel groovy. Interesting, I haven't looked into that. Fight to hold on to the deeper knowledge. Fight to finish what we have begun. The little dog fights to keep the names and thusly conquers the repetitive slide into unconsciousness. It's like going back to sleep over and over again. You know what I mean? You have to truly have this deep resolve to stay focused and aware. Once the battle is fought, amazingly, the dog has not lost the names, for that is what they were fighting over, knowledge about the wild feminine. Now this is interesting, okay? So let's really tune in here. Whoever possesses it has a power equal to that of the woman herself. The dog has fought to give this power to the worthy man, Manawi. He has fought to keep this power from an aspect of ancient human nature that would misuse it, such as a narcissist. The giving of power into the right hands is as important as the finding of the names. I'm thinking of casting your pearls. You know, don't cast your pearls before the swine. You know, somebody can fake you off like they're worthy of connecting to you on that deeper level, and then truly they're just looking to trample those pearls once you just put them out there. The heroic dog gives the names to Manawi, who presents them to the young women's father. The young women are ready to go away with Manawi. They have all along been waiting for Manawi to discover and retain conscious knowing of their intrinsic natures. So we see that the two things which prevent progress in these matters are the distractions of one's appetites and the dark stranger. This sometimes being the innate oppressor within the psyche, and sometimes a person or situation in the outer world. Regardless, each traveler knows innately how to defeat these looters and marauders. Keep hold of the names. The names are all. Don't lose yourself. This is my words. Don't lose yourself. Don't hand over your power. Stay conscious. Reserve those pearls. Keep them to yourself until you have had time to observe, just like the dog was going back and forth and trying to figure things out, you know, which is really your intuition. When you have a new connection, you know, it's like you gotta invest that time. You don't have to, but we should, right? We should invest that time to go back and forth and try, you know, to break past that barrier to truly trust our intuition and to hold on to what it's telling us. And it's just a process. I see the dog going back and forth as a process. And I think that when we're trying to test the spirits, you know what I'm saying? We're trying to deeply assess the heart of another person before we start putting those pearls out there. It's a process, and it's a multi-layer process where we're you know, coming to terms with truly trusting ourselves, what we observe in stages and at steps. It's not something that can happen overnight. And so it's just knowing the importance. It talks about, it mentioned in this section, like what matters to you, you know, knowing what truly matters. It says the instinctive psyche has learned to curb itself, prioritize, and focus. It refuses to be diverted. It is now intent. And so we just have to know what really matters, and we have to act on that. The next section is called the interior woman. Sometimes women become tired and cranky while waiting for their mates to understand them. The women say, why can't they know what I think, what I want? Women become fatigued with asking this question, yet there is a solution to this dilemma, a solution which is efficient and effective. If a woman wants a mate who is responsive in this way, she will reveal to him the secret of women's duality. Just keep going, because when I first read this section, I was thinking, it really shouldn't be that complicated. I still, you know, throughout this chapter, I struggled with the whole duality thing, because I'm thinking, if you're a genuine person, you're authentic, you're not going to have like a flip-flopping kind of self. You're just going to be you, period, without question. But I've had to really spend time on this, and I feel like I've come to a really good understanding of what her point really is. But on the surface of it, the surface of all this, it seems like it doesn't align for me with truth. But like I said, it was a process, and I had to really sit with it to understand, and I really got a lot out of it. So I hope that if you just hang with me instead of automatically rejecting it in your mind, I hope if you hang with me as we go through this, the pieces will come together for you too, and I hope that you'll get something from it too. So just hang in there, okay? All right. So it says, if a woman wants a mate who is responsive in this way, she will reveal to him the secret of women's duality. She will tell him about the interior woman, the one who, added to herself, makes two. She does this by teaching her mate to ask her two deceptively simple questions that will make her feel seen, heard, and known. The first question is this: what do you want? This is what the wildish woman's mate, the wildish man, you know, is asking, is what she's saying. This is what the wildish woman would teach her mate to ask her, is what she says. So the first question is, what do you want? Almost everyone asks some version of this, just as a matter of course. But there is yet one more essential question, and that is, what does your deeper self desire? If one overlooks a woman's dual nature and takes a woman at face value, one is in for a big surprise. For when the woman's wildish nature rises from her depths and begins to assert itself, she often has interests, feelings, and ideas which are quite different from those she expressed before. So let me go ahead and share with you where I am at this point. And I've already gone through all this and made notes. So it may be a little bit of putting something out there and then getting confirmation and then adding to and all that, right? What I'm getting from this is this. With a narcissist, you have a intentional duality. You have the false mask that they carefully construct for the purposes of lying and deception and manipulation and, you know, evil intentions, dark intentions. With a wildish woman and man who, again, she has used the term wildish to indicate connection with your deep intuition, your a good solid knowing and connection to those different layers of consciousness within your psyche, the spiritual realms. That's kind of what she refers to when she talks about the wildish woman and the wildish man. So I talked about the duality in a narcissist, the duality in a wildish man and woman. If you remember earlier in the chapter, when she was talking about the story of Manaway, she basically says that this duality is different, and it's in men too. She says that the duality is different from person to person. That's what she says. But my understanding is, and I'm not saying that's not true, but someone who is a spiritual person, the duality is going to be, like I mentioned a little earlier, being in the world but not of it, you know. So we are both human and spiritual, soulful beings connected to the divine. And so I think that what she's talking about right here and what I just read to you is, I think that that connection that we have wavers, not intentionally. I think that it's just because we are in the world and because we do fall short, we're not perfect, we have distractions, and it is a battle to stay conscious and to stay connected to your intuition. It's a struggle for all of us. But that connection grows stronger and stronger as we go through these experiences, right? That resolve gets stronger. But in the meantime, I think this is why you may find a person who thinks they know what they want and who they are, and then when they, you know, flow closer aligned to that, to their true self, to their true path, where they're flowing closer ebbing closer to that instinctive deep intuition, then you're going to get, you know, this duality. You're going to get thoughts that are much deeper and richer, and sometimes it's going to be like shining a light on the words or actions that this person, that may have come from this person when they had, you know, kind of woven away from, you know, like if they're doing this unconsciously, because they haven't had enough experiences to strengthen the connection to stay over here, to stay conscious, to stay aware. You see what I'm saying? Until a person gets to that point, it's different than intentionally doing this or intentionally staying over here and faking like you're living over here. That's different. That's a narcissist world. Do you see what I'm saying? A person who is truly trying but just immature in this awareness may ebb and flow. And I think that's where you're going to see the duality of, you know, of their opinions and their thoughts, where, you know, they sometimes may be more superficial and materialistic, and other times they're not. Other times they're deep and insightful. And so that's kind of where I hope this makes sense to you. It's hard for me to sometimes put some of these very abstract and complex thoughts into the right words. So, and I'm learning with you all too. But that's what I'm getting. And so I feel like we're all learning. You never stop learning, and you never stop growing. So I feel like the wildish man and woman are the ones who want to learn and want to grow. And it's like when iron sharpens iron, and you know, like she's saying, you know, the wildish woman is, you know, wanting her partner to say, not just what do you want, but what do you really truly want. It's like helping one another along the path to check in with, hey, are you really connected right now with your, you know, your divine inner guiding light, or not? Have you been distracted, or you pulled a little bit off pulled a little bit away from that connection? It's like you're helping one another. Does that make sense? To stay on the path. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And that's how I'm seeing this. So let's continue. To securely weave a relationship, a woman will also ask the same two questions of her mate. As women, we learn to pull both sides of our nature and that of others as well. That's where your discernment comes in, right? When it's a new connection, or even not even that new of a connection. It, you know, sometimes people wear that mask, right? From the information we receive reciprocally from both sides, we can very clearly determine what is valued most and how to respond accordingly. When a woman consults her own dual nature, she is in the process of looking, canvassing, taking soundings of material that is beyond consciousness. It's a process, and therefore often astonishing in content and process, and most often very valuable. To love a woman, the mate must also love her wildish nature. If she takes a mate who cannot or will not love this other side, she shall surely in some way be dismantled and left to limp about unrepaired. That's what happens when you get entangled with a narcissist. Whether you're a man or woman, you're going to walk away limping and being dismantled, because they don't want you connected with that intuition, with your inner guiding light. They don't want that, because if you're connected in that and you're strong in it, they're not going to be able to manipulate you. So it says, we know that the creature wild man is seeking his own earthly woman. Feared or not, it is an act of deepest love to allow oneself to be stirred by the wildish soul of another, which to me is like I mentioned earlier, when iron sharpens iron, which is what we're directed to do in the Bible. In a world where humans are so afraid of losing, there are far too many protective walls against being dissolved in the numinosity of another human soul. So that God part that is within us can convict another person. But when it's done from, another person, on the same wavelength as you, then it's love. It's an act of love. Where you can grow together. It's a beautiful thing. All right, so it says the mate for the wildish woman is the one who has a soulful tenacity and endurance, one who can send his own instinctual nature to peek under the tent of a woman's soul life and comprehend what he sees and hears there. The good match is the man who keeps returning to try to understand, who does not let himself be deterred. So the wildish task of the man is to find her true names, and not to misuse that knowledge to seize power over her, like a narcissist, but rather to apprehend and comprehend the numinous substance from which she is made, to let it wash over him, amaze him, shock him, even spook him, and to stay with it, and to sing out her names over her. It will make her eyes shine. It will make his eyes shine. Recognizing that God part, that divine spark in another being, and you're honoring that. And so, because it talks about the numinous substance, that God part within us. When the soul recognizes that part in another. And so, narcissists are going to run from that. Because remember, they're living on the surface. They're living a lie. And living a lie it can't survive except on the surface. You can't go deeper, because going deeper means conviction. So that's pretty much it. There's one more paragraph in chapter 4 that ties it up, and it's basically getting you prepared for the next section, because chapter 5 is called Hunting, when the heart is a lonely hunter, and it's about the story of Skeleton Woman. It says facing the life nature of love. So I'm really interested to get into this. I remember Skeleton Woman being very impactful to me the first time I read the book, but I just don't remember the details of it. So I'm really excited to jump into that with you. But I hope that we're already at 28 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I hope that this has blessed you in some way today. I hope that you've gotten something good from it, and I hope that it has just ignited a passion within you for this awareness, and I just hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I have. So thanks for coming along. If you enjoyed this, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe, that would be great. And you can always hit the bell to be notified when I post new content. Thanks so much for coming along with me, and I hope you have a really great day. And I'll see you soon.
Love.